But it is necessary that the intellect created to so noble a vision should be raised by some influence of divine goodness. For it is impossible for that which is the proper form of a thing to become the form of another thing, unless that thing partakes of some likeness to that of which it is the proper form. Just as light does not become an act of any body unless it partakes of something transparent. Now, the divine essence is the proper intelligible form of the divine intellect, and proportionate to it. For these three are one in God, the intellect by which it is understood, and that which is understood. It is therefore impossible that the essence itself should become the intelligible form of any created intellect, except through the fact that the created intellect partakes of some divine likeness. Therefore, this participation in the divine likeness is necessary in order that the substance of God may be seen. Still, there is nothing receptive of a more sublime form unless it is raised to its capacity by some disposition. For the proper act is done in its proper power. But the divine essence is a higher form than any created intellect. Therefore, in order for the divine essence to become an intelligible species of any created intellect, which is required for the divine substance to be seen, it is necessary that the created intellect be elevated to this by some more sublime arrangement. Further, if any two things were previously not united and are afterwards united, this must be done by a change of both, or only of the other. Now, if it is supposed that the intellect created anew begins to see the substance of God, it is necessary, according to the premises, that the divine essence is united to it anew as an intelligible species. Now it is impossible for the divine essence to be moved, as was shown above. It is therefore necessary that such a union should begin to exist through a change in the understanding of the created. This change cannot be otherwise than by the fact that the created intellect acquires some disposition anew. But the same thing follows if it is granted that from the beginning of its creation, any created intellect is possessed by such a vision. For if such a vision exceeds the capacity of created nature, as has been proved, it can be understood that every created intellect consists in the appearance of its own nature without seeing the substance of God. Hence, whether he begins to see God from the beginning or afterwards, something must be added to his nature. Again, nothing can be raised to a higher operation except by the fact that its power is strengthened. Now it happens that someone's strength is strengthened in two ways. In the first way, by the simple intensity of the power itself. Just as the active power of heat is increased by the intensity of heat, so that it can effect a more vigorous action in the same species. In another way, by the addition of a new form, just as the power of transparency is increased to the point that it can illuminate, by the fact that it actually becomes bright through the form of light received in itself anew. And indeed, this increase of power is required to achieve another kind of operation. But the power of the intellect of the natural creature is not sufficient to see the divine substance, as is clear from what has been said. It is necessary, therefore, that his virtue be increased, in order that he may reach such a vision. But it is not sufficient to increase by the intensity of natural power, because such a vision is not of the same reason as the natural vision of the created intellect, which is clear from the distance of the viewers. It is therefore necessary that there should be an increase in intellectual power through the acquisition of some new disposition. But since we arrive at the knowledge of intelligibles from the sensible, we also transfer the names of sensible knowledge to intelligible knowledge, and especially those that pertain to sight, which is among the other senses more noble and spiritual. and thereby akin to the understanding. And hence it is that intellectual knowledge itself is called vision. And since corporeal vision is not completed except by light, those by which intellectual vision is completed take the name of light. Whence Aristotle, in 3 De Anima, likens the intellect acting to light, from the fact that the intellect acting makes the intelligible in act, just as light in a certain way makes visible in act. The disposition, therefore, by which the created intellect is raised to the intellectual vision of the divine substance is properly called the light of glory, not because it makes it intelligible in act as the light of the agent's understanding, but by this which makes the intellect powerful to actually understand. Now this is the light of which it is said in the Psalm, "In your light we shall see the light," that is, the light of the divine substance. In Revelation 22 it is said, "The city, that is, of the blessed, does not need the sun or the moon, for the brightness of God has illuminated it." And in Isaiah 60 it is said, "The sun will no longer shine on you during the day, nor will the brightness of the moon illuminate you, but the Lord will be your everlasting light, and your God your glory." This is also the reason, because to God is the same thing as to understand, and it is the cause of all understanding, that it is said to be light, John 1:9. There was a true light which enlightens every man who comes into this world. And 1 John 1:5. God is light, and in the Psalm, clothed with light as with a garment. And for this reason, both God and the angels are described in sacred scripture in figures of fire, because of the brightness of the fire.